Hello everybody, welcome to another top 5 albums of the week. We have got 10 things I want to mention in this video, so 5 of them will be honourable mentions, and the other 5 will obviously be in the top 5. So I've got another EP, so that's one of the things, so let's go through it, because as usual I don't really like to rank EPs with albums. So the first one I'll mention is the Avenged Sevenfold Statica EP. I feel like the controversy behind this, if you don't know, is highly warranted, because this is I don't even know what the thought process of this was. What did the band think when they wrote this EP? Did they think, guys, we got an idea for a new EP, let's make it electronic, drown it out with auto-tune, pretty much remove any aspect of rock or metal to it, and just have it be this very awful mesh of electronic rock with this abysmal vocal filter to it? I don't understand how that can how can I warrant a conversation and actually experiment with that. That's kind of like write an idea on paper and then everyone just says no. This was terrible. I don't understand how this came to be, but this is the worst thing Avenged Sevenfold have done by far. Without a shadow of doubt. I mean, the band has been experimenting for a while now. Life is But a Dream, the latest record in 2023, that was quite an experimental record. It definitely tried to play with more progressive elements, give it a kind of a bit of a niche variety. Some songs might be ballad, some songs might be very tame or limited or simple, while other songs might just try and explode off with just your standard heavy metal feel. They had a good variety for it, and I will be one of the people that says that album wasn't bad. I kind of enjoyed it. I didn't think it was crazy, but Avenged Sevenfold had a decent thing going with that album. But since they did the song with Call of Duty for the new Call of Duty game last year, oh my god, that was terrible. They normally do music for zombies. I've enjoyed quite a few of them. Even Mad Hatter, I actually found that one to be quite an interesting track. But no, this was abysmal. This actually sucked. It was psychedelic, blending in with this messy, disgusting auto-tune sound, and that just already just completely ruined it, especially when they use like kind of trap beats for it as well. It really got annoying. But now the Statica EP is somehow much worse. I'd rather listen to that Call of Duty song, to be honest. Yeah, this EP, I've just seen memes on it, I've just seen nothing but distaste for it. I think it makes sense. It is one of the worst things this year has to offer music-wise. And I mean, we've had the new TX2 record, we also had the Paleface Swiss EP, and also the new Attila record. So, not really surprised by that. But yeah, this is really rough, to be honest. Next one we have that didn't make it is, we're on albums now, The Strokes' Reality Awaits. This Strokes record is the first time I will admit that Strokes really screwed it up when it came to making a record. It feels like Julian Casablancas was more in the Void's headspace when making this, so he kind of wants to bring, with the last record from the Void's, elements of that to put over here. So while we do have a bit more of this alternative sound, a bit more of a kind of a country-esque feel, only in certain bits, it's not really a big problem or utilised much, but the way we kind of have this more westernized sound, to have auto-tune drowned onto it, does not really give us like the best feel of what's it like to have a new Strokes album 8 years after the new Abnormal, an album that was quite beloved by many and fans, and even has a massive hit, The Adults Are Talking, which is such an iconic song for the Strokes. So how did they continue that? They just made this record, and I feel like almost every point of it just doesn't work. The writing feels completely lazy on this one, in my opinion at least. Lyrically especially is what I meant by that, because why do we have to have a song about Anthony Fantano? I know the guy has beef with him, but isn't it easier just to ignore people like Fantano instead of giving him a pedestal to stand on, or better yet, just don't give him any recognition, just ignore it? Because if you ignore someone that you disagree with and don't like their views, and they acknowledged you before, just it's easier said than done, unless the guy's going to milk you for reviews, which, I mean, to be fair, I'm not really surprised in that case, but it just kind of feels really contrived and very out of pocket for a Strokes record to have Anthony Fantano name dropped on the record. It was surprising, and it just kind of felt really tacky and forced for a track. And the singles we had really didn't get me much interest either. Going Shopping is okay, but the auto-tune just didn't really work for me. Falling Out of Love was terrible as a single, and I feel like there wasn't really anything much better. Some melodies and instrumentals were good, but if it's drowned out by auto-tune, I'm not really invested in it, so I didn't find this one to be particularly a fun, good record. Another one I wasn't really big on was Waterparks' Jinx. I hate to say it, there was a few songs I actually quite liked, but from the kind of goofy lyrics, which I already should have suspected with this, I wasn't really clicking with this. Instrumentally, I felt like there was some good points, but I just felt with Jinx here, there was nothing that really popped out at me. A lot of the songs just kind of feel like they're trying to be so over-eccentric that they end up just kind of feeling similar to each other. And when you have tracks like Gwen Stefani, obviously you're doing a more tongue-in-cheek sort of approach with that humour. I don't know, I feel like if you're going to name drop a celebrity to try and make it a very standout, over-the-top catchy song, at least try and do what Fall Out Boy did, because Uma Thurman is a popular song of theirs, and I actually remember that one quite a bit, but Gwen Stefani, I literally forgot this song existed until I looked up the track list again. I wasn't really big on it, and then they had the song that had Danny Elfman feature on it, and that was really bad. I didn't like how repetitive, how annoying, and how just absolutely over the top the song was. It definitely was the weakest point of it, and I don't think that's a good start for it, but at least for the rest of the record, it does pick up from there, but it kind of fluctuates at the same time. Not really an album I'm big on, but at least it's got some credible parts. And I think overall, sound-wise, it's not too bad. I think compared to the Strokes and Avenged Sevenfold drowning everything with auto-tune, I can at least appreciate cleaner vocals that don't do that. So Jinx just wins better than those two because of it. We got the new one by Madball, Not Your Kingdom. Just some hardcore sort of punk from Madball. Nothing I really think stands out. Nothing in particular I was impressed with. It was just kind of a very middle of the road sort of album. It's one I think if you're a big hardcore punk fan, you might get more of it out of it than me, but I just think this one just kind of felt fine. It was kind of an inoffensive record. It just didn't really click much with me. But I didn't really regret the time put into it compared to the other ones I've mentioned, so it's fine. It's just not really one I was that big on. And the last one on the mentions is Cheekface Podium, some indie surf rock, geek rock sort of sound. If you like geek rock stuff, I mean Weezer kind of oozes into that sound, but I actually like Weezer because Weezer's music, yeah, it can be a bit kind of geeky and nerdy sounding, but the appeal to Weezer is that they actually can make very iconic, fun songs like Buddy Holly or Say It Ain't So. Matter of fact, the Blue Album, by many, is such a masterpiece when it comes to rock. I wouldn't quite say it's a masterpiece, but I say it's a bloody good album, and I still feel like they have some really good qualities afterwards, especially with Pinkerton, as I consider that to be their best. In general, they have a lot of fun, iconic songs Weezer do, but Cheekface kind of do this sort of sound every single time, even from the album presentation, from the cover to just the track listing. Yeah, I feel like this is kind of a standard for Cheekface. If you're a fan of it, then I feel like there's nothing really to ruin it, because it's just more Cheekface material that keeps the same trend, but I think from an outside perspective, of someone who doesn't really listen to it, I wasn't really bothered with the last year album, and I didn't really want to talk about it because I didn't have much of an opinion, but I needed something to talk about here as well, and Cheekface ended up being one of them, so I guess this is a similar thing to how I viewed it last year. It's got some good stuff. I feel like it doesn't really have that reach that Weezer do in terms of being a more accessible, fun listen, but I think at the same time, Cheekface aren't really doing anything bad here, and there's still some interesting melodies, so not a bad album, just not one I'm really big on. Alright, now we're into the top 5. So number 5 we have Mayday Parade, Sugar. So this is the third installment of their 3-part sort of album release, and Sugar's fine. I didn't really listen to much of Mayday Parade, and I did listen to the album last year, but didn't get time to review it. I wasn't really like big on any of it, and I didn't think this did anything better. But I got to say that the reason Sugar, even though I'd probably say it's on almost the same tier as like Cheek Face, Madball, in terms of how I rank it, I'd put it a little bit higher just because I feel like it has some more pop out moments, and I think as a whole it's a more cohesive, interesting emo pop listen. It's nothing crazy, but Mayday Parade here at least have still got their sort of sound here, so I do appreciate that for them. At number 4, Combichrist, the Venom in the Mouth of God. Yeah, this one's got some very fun industrial metal aspect to it. I've always thought Combichrist has got an interesting blend of sounds. I quite like their 2024 record, Combichrist, but I don't know, something about this album kind of feels like a bit of a step down from it. I think it's just that some songs kind of do too much of the similar thing, whereas the last album kind of has quite a bit of flavour to it. I do like the fact that the last album also had a small segment of these more ambient, weird sounds to kind of make it feel really like a stand-up track, but here I just think it's just kind of a standard modern Combichrist album. Nothing crazy, nothing terrible. It's got some decently good points, but I feel like it's kind of at every few tracks you get something that wins, and then the rest of it's just kind of, yeah, it's not really doing it for me sort of experience from it, but not too bad either. Number 3, we have The Who, Hun. So The Who have been an interesting Mongolian folk metal band. I've always enjoyed the blend. I love the Mongolian throat singing they've brought to it, and the band definitely has had some attention, especially with the feature of Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach, which I always remember being one of the more iconic songs from The Who. And The Who's even collaborated to appear on one of the EA Star Wars games. I think it's Outlaws, but I'm not going to 100% rule that out as a fact because I'm not sure which one it is. But they definitely worked onto the soundtrack of one of them, which is pretty sick. So yeah, The Who honestly is a fun energy group, but I just didn't really feel like this album brought too much of their best sound over. I think the folk metal music is fine, but some of the stuff that kind of brought it down for me is, for example, the song that features Johnny Hawkins from Nothing More. I just feel like as soon as they bring in this very over-the-top kind of I guess like modern generic octane core sound to it, it made me lose the interest a bit, because once we get past that it kind of feels like, I guess, octane core Mongolian folk music, which I will say at least that's a lot more original than just kind of more octane core sounding stuff. But I don't know, I just feel like this album, even when it's trying to do their more traditional sound, doesn't really reel the best work out of it. A lot of the stuff is just kind of forgettable on this record, so I didn't really feel like this was their best work necessarily, but I didn't think that this was an abysmal listen either. I just feel like a lot of the stuff this week has been pretty mid, with some really bad stuff. Number 2 though, we actually are diving into stuff I can start to consider good now. Sallow, Moth, Hydrophilous, Brood. Yeah, this is some pretty brutal death metal. It's angry, it gets to the point. It's not redefine the genre, but then again a lot of these bands don't. It's not really doing anything that makes Sallow Moth stand out. It's just kind of a, you know, a newish, very underrated group releasing something that I think should get more attention. They've got the talent, they've got the energy, the unclean vocalist is pretty damn good at it. I don't know, I feel like this one actually made me appreciate stuff like this more. I'm not always the biggest fan of these really angry albums, but they can work, and I think this one works pretty decently. It's definitely one of the better records of the week, so thought I'd mention Sallow Moth here. Very underrated. I check it out if you're a big fan of brutal death metal. And number 1, the best album of the week. It's by far better than everything that's come out this week, and I appreciate that because it was the last thing I listened to, so we kind of ended off all the stuff I listened to on a high note, because a lot of it has just been fine, oh that was pretty shit, fine, oh Avenged Sevenfold existed, sort of weak, but yeah, this album's pretty damn good. It's a stoner metal band with some post-metal influence. This is REZN with Cycles in the Infinite Dream. Very underrated group, but from what I've heard from REZN from my first listen, this is pretty damn good. A lot of the stoner aspect to it works great. I feel like there's elements of prog and psychedelia to this, but it's mainly focused on that kind of more stoner post-metal feel. Some of it even kind of reminds me a bit of the drone metal stuff you could imagine. This definitely feels tamer than that, but I really like the way that this is structured. Although the songs stand out, in the middle of it you kind of get this nice little instrumental that separates the first half to the second half, but the second half just comes back swinging with these really fun ideas, especially the last track. I just love the instrumental build up on it. It's a really fun album that makes up for the fact that this week was kind of lackluster. It's probably one of the worst weeks I've seen for reviews, because, or at least for albums, because I just really didn't have much to say. And REZN has given me a lot more of that. Oh, there's a lot of ambitious ideas here. From the drumming, just works really well with the overall sound. The guitars just soar into this really fun landscape of giving a thick atmosphere. And vocally, I just love it. It feels like it feels like it has this rough, sweet edge to it for its clean delivery. And yeah, it works really well. REZN is very underrated, and this album shows that. So that is my track of the week, and this is my top 5 tracks of the week video. So next week we have got a bunch to talk about. We've got something from the new Alt record, as well as a few other new things that have also been released, and I'll go into them in the next video. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next week.